All right, and we are live. What's going on, everybody? Welcome into the live stream. We got a nice big slate here to go over tonight. We got 9 games, so should be plenty of options. We got news filing in here. Some people filing in the chat. Already built my lineup tonight, Patrick says. DraftKings, great tools on your Patreon. Feel pretty good about it. That's good to know, Patrick. Glad you're feeling good about your lineup tonight, man. Mr. Golf and Moore says, first time here, had to check out KJK, been hearing good things. That's good, man. I'm curious to see who told you about me. Let me know in the chat, but I'm glad that you're hearing good things about me. That definitely doesn't hurt my feelings. You should be enjoying the content, I think, giving you good advice. We're going to be going a little bit game by game, as we always do, checking out some injury news, giving you the top plays on the slate, and some guys that I'm really looking to. We got some pretty big news already for quite a few spots here. The biggest one being Paul George in the late night game being ruled as out. So that's going to obviously open up a bunch of usage, a bunch of good stuff on the Clipper side of things. So obviously going to be some usage to go around here. So that's going to be a big bump up to Reggie Jackson, Eric Bledsoe, etc. Terrence Mann, Luke Kennard going to get some more minutes, all that fun stuff. But we'll get into that as we go along here. And as always, feel free to drop any questions you have in the chat. I'll get to them. And we'll be covering DraftKings and FanDuel. So if you can tell me which website you're playing on, which format, that certainly helps me to answer your questions. And we'll get to them. So yeah, as always, let's do a little bit of a game by game. We'll kind of speed through it. It's 9 games, and then we'll try to get to your questions. But just so we can have a little bit of an overview on what's going on here. This first game, Minnesota taking on Washington. We have Anthony Edwards listed as questionable in this one. If he is out, of course, that's going to give a big bump up to mainly D'Angelo Russell at 8-4 on DraftKings and on FanDuel as well. He'd become a tremendous play. Already is a pretty good play overall. He's been performing very well. He's put up 60 and 52 DraftKings points the last 2 times out. But if you take Mr. Anthony Edwards out of the equation, obviously he's going to get a big bump up even more. So that's going to be some certainly big news to be waiting on in this first game. Karl-Anthony Towns are going to bump up as well. Other than that, both these teams look pretty healthy. Both of them are going to kind of be the same old rotations that they typically have. It is a 216 over-under, which is a little bit higher than a lot of these other earlier games. The Orlando Magic, Denver Nuggets only has like a 207 in total. Cleveland Cavaliers, Miami Heat, same thing, 206.5 for the Philadelphia-Boston Celtics game. So there are some pretty slow games on the slate, and the one that stands out the most, obviously, is going to be the 230.5 over-under the Charlotte Hornets-Milwaukee Bucks game. So that game's going to be one we're going to have a lot exposure to. But overall, in this first game, obviously that Anthony Edwards news is going to be some big news, because that's going to determine quite a bit here for us as far as our interest levels in this game overall. For the time being, I'm not too interested. We do have Torian Prince all the way down to 3-1 in this game, and Naz Reid only at 3-4, both of which are really cheap options. Their minutes have just been a little bit capped, so it's like, do you really want to go there on such a huge slate? Maybe, but I mean, Naz Reid can certainly get you there in 20 minutes. I think there's going to be other better options, so not that I'm getting too excited about here, to be honest with you, in this first game, unless we do get news that Anthony Edwards is out. And then obviously another guy that I forgot to mention would be Mr. Malik Beasley, if he is indeed out at only 4-5. He's going to be a tremendous play as well. And we did just get some confirmation that Cam Reddish was listed as out, so that's going to open up some more minutes in the Atlanta Hawks rotation. So there's some more news filing in for us on this slate tonight, which we'll get to, but just letting you guys know as soon as I can, Cam Reddish is out, so adjust your lineups accordingly. Mr. Golf and Moore says, Mr. Spurs fan Patrick. Yeah, Patrick, man. Patrick's always in the chat. Love hearing from him. He's a Patreon member in the Discord chat, so Patrick's good people. So glad you could join the stream. But yeah, so Patrick Beverley's continuing to be out. Nothing too crazy here, and we just got confirmation that Anthony Edwards is active. So all that stuff we were just talking about, we can throw out the window. Malik Beasley's going to be in the rotation. Is going to stay the same. Nothing too crazy here in this first game. It is a pretty good pace game, but I just feel like the teams are pretty healthy. So overall, I mean, it's going to be Bradley Beal obviously being the #1 candidate on the Wizards side. It's a star. On the Timberwolves side with Anthony Edwards in, it's going to be D'Lo, Edwards, and Karl-Anthony Towns splitting the usage, but there's some other spots where there's some guys out that are going to see some bigger bumps up in usage throughout the slate. So we'll get to that as we go along here, but Atlanta taking on Indiana is going to be the next game we're going to talk about here on the slate. once again, both these teams looking really healthy outside of the Cam Reddish news that we just got. So Cam Reddish is out. DeAndre Hunter continues to be out. With Cam Reddish being out, we can see some more TLC, some more Solomon Hill minutes. So maybe TLC becomes an intriguing play, but I'm not too sure how much interest we're going to have depending upon how many minutes he really gets. He's been in seeing around 13 or so when he does get minutes, and nothing too crazy. Maybe he gets a big bump up now that Cam Reddish is out, but I highly doubt it. I think it's really just going to impact more so Kevin Huerter, most likely, who would become a great play, and Danilo Gallinari as well. Both those guys should be seeing quite a bit of minutes and quite a bit of usage, and both are priced very reasonably. So those two guys would be the ones that are really standing out to me now that there is indeed no Cam Reddish, both as good value plays. We'll get to some other value plays in the later games too, though, that are really standing out. But yeah, those guys going to make a lot of sense. Kevin Huerter specifically, 4,400. That's just really cheap on DraftKings, where he's a very good three-point shooter. It's going to be pretty easy for him to surpass his price tag with the three-point bonus, the amount of minutes he plays, mid-30s to upper 30s in minutes. Shouldn't really have an issue getting there. He was playing in mid-20s in a few games, but that's because those games were turning into blowouts. Last time out, finally a close game, he played 38 minutes, so that's a lot of run for Kevin Huerter, and now you're factoring that there's not going to be any Cam Reddish. He should get, if not more run, more usage. Kevin Huerter is going to be a tremendous value. On the Indiana side of things, Karis LeVert continues to be priced very reasonably. He's priced right at 5.4. He's been playing low to mid-30s in minutes, so he's someone that you could certainly be looking to. That's a versatile option, but has a bunch of upside at his price tag. He's really grading out as a good option for me in my projections based upon his price tag and the upside that he could supply on both websites. He's 5.4 on DraftKings. Over on FanDuel, they've got him priced at 5.4 as well. I just think that's way too cheap for the amount of upside that this guy could provide. He could go out there and bust for you, but he's a tournament play. I wouldn't be playing him in cash games, but in tournaments at 5.4, he could easily go out there and put up 40 points for you. FanDuel points, DraftKings points, and if he does, you're going to be looking really good in your tournaments. Playing a guy at that price tag, you're going to be able to pay up for some other more expensive guys that could put up some big games. So Karis LeVert certainly going to be making quite a bit of sense to me in my tournament lineups tonight. And he's another guy that I'd be looking to for sure. Then you have the main candidates. We did get confirmation that Miles Turner is going to be in. He was listed as questionable, so he's going to be in now as well. That's not going to give a bump up to, Domantas Sabonis and Malcolm Brogdon and some of these guys that we might have been seeing a bump to if he was indeed out. I think it's going to hurt Miles Turner being in. Obviously, is going to hurt Domantas Sabonis, limit his rebounding upside, that kind of thing. So that's a little unfortunate. And then on the Atlanta side of things, Trae Young, Clint Capella, obviously going to be huge on-ball pick and roll guys that can have a lot of upside. Trae Young being the on-ball guy, Clint Capella being the roll guy, can get plenty of rebounds, and I think they're going to need Clint Capella's size in a pretty big way in this one because they have Domantas Sabonis and Miles Turner. However, Miles Turner tends to want to roam out around the arc, which could limit Clint Capella's rebounding upside. He kind of likes to hang out behind the arc if Miles Turner's guarding him, and then we have also John Collins down low. Maybe you can make an argument for some more Domantas Sabonis exposure as opposed to Miles Turner, and same thing for Clint Capella. Maybe more John Collins exposure as compared to Clint Capella because of the way that these matchups kind of play out. So that's a little thing for you to think about there when you're building your lineups. And overall in this game, it's nothing really too exciting for the most part outside of Malcolm Brogdon and Karis LeVert. I do think that they're both pretty intriguing options at their respective price tags. Chris Duarte as well on DraftKings is a little too cheap in my opinion. He's only 4K. With LeVert being back, his minutes are going to be somewhat capped, but he's a guy that could catch fire and get you there at his price tag. Not someone I'm too high on, but just someone I have to take note of. But other than that, this game, nothing too crazy. Denver taking on Orlando. This game should be a great spot for the Denver side specifically, especially if the game stays close. Right now, looking at the spread, it is an 8-point spread in favor of Denver. Orlando's defense has been absolutely terrible on the season, so if this game is able to stay close, these Denver guys should really have a big ceiling game here. Looking at my defensive half-court and putbacks tool over here on Patreon and my defensive transitions tool, Orlando ranks 29th in the league in points per possession rank given up, 23rd in half-court points per play rank, 24th in offensive rebound percentage rank, giving up a lot of rebounds, offensive rebounds to opponents, giving up a lot of points overall. For that reason, obviously going to have a lot of interest in targeting the Denver Nuggets, specifically Nikola Jokic. If this game does stay close, he could have a huge game. He's priced pretty appropriately, unfortunately. DraftKings just keeps pricing him way up on FanDuel. He's priced way up as well. But with the amount of value that we have on this slate, I don't think there should be an issue being able to get up to him. Just keep in mind that if we do see that what was I saying there? Oh, yeah, if we do see this game turn into a blowout, then obviously not going to be good for Mr. Nikola Jokic because his minutes are going to be limited, his upside's not going to be there, and that's going to certainly hurt your lineup. So Nikola Jokic going to definitely be a guy that you're wanting to play if the game does stay close. If the game doesn't stay close, not going to be nearly as interested in him. So that's something to take note of there when it comes to Nikola Jokic. Same thing for the other guys. Will Barton, Aaron Gordon. If the game does stay close, one thing that I will say is, like, if you're playing a Nikola Jokic tonight, you're probably going to want to run it back with a Mo Bamba, a Wendell Carter Jr., and a Cole Anthony. Those three guys are really going to be the top three options that would make this game stay close. I'm not saying you have to play all of them, but you're certainly going to want to have some exposure to the Orlando side because they're really going to need to perform to keep this game close. So that's something to take note of. And, yeah, that's a pretty easy way to sum up this game. If the game stays close, the Denver side could have some really big upside games. On the Orlando side, Jalen Suggs continues to be out. Michael Carter-Williams continues to be out. That's opening up more minutes for these Orlando guys. As far as the guys that I'm mostly interested in, though, let's see. RJ Hampton is really standing out to me at 3.6. Outside of the, obviously the main candidates that I talked about, but with these guys being out, it's going to be RJ Hampton. He's going to continue to see a bunch of usage, a bunch of minutes compared to what he was seeing before. Still only playing like 15 to 20 minutes, though, so it's not like it's getting too crazy here. I got a projector for 23 minutes, and he's grading out as a pretty good play for me if you need to go to that value. And RJ Hampton, a bit of a revenge narrative here, taking on the former team, so maybe you could factor that in a little bit. Certainly probably wants to go out there and have a big game. And he's always a guy that produces when he gets minutes. And if the game turns into a blowout, he'll absolutely crush. So that's probably, I'd be playing him if I expect this game to turn into a blowout as well. Philly taking on Boston. We're waiting on the Jaylen Brown news. That's certainly going to be some very big news. That will give a big bump up to Jason Tatum, Marcus Smart, Dennis Schroeder. So if he is indeed out, certainly take note of that because that's going to impact this rotation and usage in a very heavy way. Most notably, obviously, Jason Tatum. This game is a little bit slower, though, so I tend to think I'd want to go to the cheaper guys and Dennis Schroeder or Marcus Smart. That's usually my approach when it's a slow, like low total game. Instead of paying up for the top guy like a Jason Tatum, I'll just go to the cheaper guys that could actually get there with the game not being the fastest pace. At their price tags, they should be able to still, go out there, perform, and be able to get there. So that's my approach. If it was a faster paced game, I'd be having a lot more interest in Jason Tatum. But for the time being, if we do get confirmation that Jaylen Brown's out, I would go to some Dennis Schroeder, some Marcus Smart. Marcus Smart's been playing at the point guard position essentially for this Boston squad as of late and really racking up the assists. He's put up 8, 8, and 6 assists the last 3 times out. He's also been scoring some buckets, though. 20 points, 21 points in 2 of those 3 games. Marcus Smart, not typically a guy you're looking to see a ton of scoring out of. But he has been producing, so. And if you're playing on FanDuel, Marcus Smart's a tremendous play. Anytime he's going to get a bump up because you get all the steals, the 3 points for those blocks and steals. Marcus Smart, very active hands. He's constantly getting steals out there, so on FanDuel specifically, certainly do like him. Yeah, that's what my approach would be if there is no Jaylen Brown. In that game, the Boston Celtics taking on the Philadelphia 76ers. On the Philadelphia 76ers side, they're starting to get healthy now. Tobias Harris, Joel Embiid's back. Like I said, not the fastest-paced game. If I'm playing anyone in this game, it's probably Joel Embiid because he could still have a ceiling game in a slow-paced game, just the way he racks up his points, rebounds, and scoring. Even though it's a slower-paced game, there is a possibility where the entire flow runs through Joel Embiid. So no issues with going there, but overall, not too interested in this game. So this is going to be slow-paced. Robert Williams is priced reasonably across the industry. He's been missing some games recently, so maybe he's someone you're looking to. But like I said, other than that, nothing too exciting in this one. There's definitely going to be some better games to target as we go along the slate here. Cleveland taking on Miami is the next game. We're waiting on Jimmy Butler news. We did get confirmation that Bam Adebayo is out, so obviously that's going to make Dwayne Dedmon, PJ Tucker get a big bump up here. Specifically, Dwayne Dedmon is going to be the guy that everyone jumps to, and he is questionable, so just keep that in mind. If he is indeed out, that's just going to open up even more minutes for those guys, and I think that a good pivot here could be PJ Tucker. So when everyone else goes to Dwayne Dedmon, maybe you could play a PJ Tucker, and Dwayne Dedmon doesn't have the biggest game in the world. The only thing is, obviously, with Dwayne Dedmon being so cheap on DraftKings, specifically at 3-1, it's going to be really difficult for you to not want to play him. It's going to be really difficult for him to not get you there at that price tag. On FanDuel, where you only have to play one center, and he's 3.7, I think you can make a much bigger case for fading him because you could be putting a lot of sacrifice into that position if he doesn't have the biggest game. Like, for instance, his last game he had 17 points. That's still pretty reasonable at 3-7, but that's definitely not going to be winning you any tournaments. And if he's really popular, could be a nice little pivot spot for you to go to someone else like a PJ Tucker, as mentioned. So that's something to take note of. And then, of course, if we do get confirmation that Jimmy Butler's out, that's going to open up a bunch of more usage to Tyler Hero and Kyle Lowry. They'd become two of the best plays on the slate. Tyler Hero listed as probable, so expect him to be in. So that's obviously a big piece of news. If Jimmy Butler's in, with there being no Bam Adebayo, I do think that he sees a big bump up in usage as well. He's going to soak up the most usage in this Miami offense. So certainly would have interest in him, guys. All right, we're going to keep moving along here, but quick reminder that if you're enjoying the live stream so far and you aren't subscribed to the channel, or if you haven't liked the stream, if you could please take a moment to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you don't miss any future content that I upload. That would be greatly appreciated. I'll be here all NBA DFS season long breaking down these slates to help you guys become better NBA DFS players, help you guys win some money. So if you take a second to do that, that would be great. On the Cleveland side, they're starting to really get healthy. So before we move to the next game, you know, we have Evan Mobley back, Lauri Markkanen, Ricky Rubio, Jared Allen, Darius Garland. A team that was once completely falling apart just like about a week ago is now back and healthy. So all these guys are going to be kind of cutting into each other's usage. So I'm not going to have much interest in them because they're all back and it's a very slow-paced game. Kevin Love's back. That's probably going to be a no for me on the Cleveland side of things. Not too intrigued to play really anyone. Next game on the slate, we have Charlotte taking on Milwaukee. This is the fastest-paced game on the slate, which is obviously going to make Giannis Antetokounmpo one of the top spend-up options. Really just going to come down to whether the game stays close or not. Looking at the total on the slate right now, it's a 230.5 over/under with a 9-point spread in favor of the Milwaukee Bucks. So not exactly the worst spread either when it comes to Milwaukee Bucks. Obviously a very talented team. They are involved in quite a bit of blowouts. This thing is a ridiculous total compared to some of these other games. I mean, we've been seeing these totals be real low compared to the years past this year in the NBA. So the fact that this is 230 plus, this might be the first game I've seen on the year that's 230 plus. I think it is. I think we've seen some high 220s, but not 230 plus yet. So I would certainly be making it a big priority to be getting exposure to this game. My favorite play in this game is going to be PJ Washington. He is the thumbnail boy. If you noticed on the live stream, he's just way too cheap after returning. We've seen him play 35 and 32 minutes the last 2 times out. He's only 5-1 on DraftKings over on FanDuel. Let's see, they got him priced at, I think 4.9. Yeah, 4.9 on FanDuel. So he's my top play in this game from an upside at his price tag perspective. Just should be able to absolutely blow that price tag away. So I have a lot of interest in PJ Washington on both websites. And like I said, I think you should have a lot of interest in this game overall. Top 2 pay-up options, obviously Giannis and LaMelo Ball, both really involved in their offenses, both very dynamic players that can score, assist, rebound, all of the above. Triple-double upside for both of those guys in this game. So I think both of them should be top priority spend-up options for you on the slate if you're able to fit them in with the proper salary relief guys around them, which on this slate I don't think should be much of an issue. There's plenty of value out there, so I'm certainly going to be trying to pay up for these guys as much as possible in LaMelo and Giannis Antetokounmpo because I think that their ceilings could be massive in this spot. We have the Dwayne Dedmon value that we talked about. Karis LeVert's cheap. We talked about him maybe, you know, being able to go off for you in this spot. PJ Washington in this game. Kevin Huerter we talked about as well, with there being no Cam Reddish. So plenty of value to go around. And these guys, you should be able to fit in your lineups. Patrick has a question coming in. Patrick asks, on DraftKings for utility, Gafford or Huerter? That's a good question. I think I'm going to go Huerter without even thinking about it. But I don't know, man. That's a good question. Those are kind of 2 close candidates for their upside. So I think that your head's in the right spot here. Gafford has a lot more rebounding, double-double upside in a very like the last 2 times out, Gafford has absolutely killed it. And that's because he's put up 10 rebounds and, 10-plus points, so we get the double-double bonus. He's only 4.8, but his minutes have been somewhat capped, whereas Huerter's going to play like mid-30s to upper 30s in minutes. So I'm going to kind of let you use your own discretion on that. I think I would lean Huerter strictly from a minutes upside aspect. Last game did turn into a blowout for Gafford, though. The 2 games before that, he's seen 27 and 27. And at the time we speak right now, he does grade out better in my projections. So got to rely on the projections. My final answer would be Gafford. But if you're debating between those two guys, I think your head's in the right spot for your building your lineups. They're both good plays. But yeah, this Charlotte-Milwaukee game is going to be an absolute shootout. Chris Middleton, Drew Holiday, Bobby Portis, all going to be intriguing secondary options. If you're not playing Giannis Antetokounmpo, the natural move would be to play, maybe 2 or 3 of these guys. Load up on them, say that they have the big game, and Giannis doesn't exactly perform the greatest. That'd be a nice way of getting contrarian in your lineups. And then on the Charlotte side, like I said, PJ Washington. Also, Kelly Oubre is only 5'4". He's been playing low to mid-30s the last couple times out. So I have a lot of interest in Kelly Oubre. Kelly Oubre, PJ Washington, both just really underpriced for this spot. And we just got confirmation that Jimmy Butler is out. So that is obviously some very big news. That's going to shake up the slate here real quick. And we're going to have a lot of interest in some of these other Miami Heat guys. Tyler Hero and Kyle Lowry become 2 of the top priority plays on the slate for me right off the bat. So that's going to be the obvious candidates. And then we're going to be waiting on the starting lineup to decide where we're going to be going from there. But we just got even more value. In a slow-paced game, too, that I didn't really have a lot of interest in targeting, I now have a bunch of interest in targeting because Miami's just going to have so much usage to go around. Kyle Lowry, Tyler Hero going to be top priorities. Duncan Robinson's going to get a big bump up. We'll probably see a bunch of Gabe Vincent minutes now as well. He's played 31-29 the last 2 times out. So that is some big news. And these Miami Heat guys are going to be exactly where your value is. Tyler Hero just did get confirmed as in. We expected that, but that's some big news, guys. No Jimmy Butler. So make sure you're taking note of that, adjusting your lineups accordingly. Max Struss. We have Caleb Martin. I mean, all of these guys going to see a lot of minutes. It's going to be great value plays. And I really don't think we're going to have much issues paying up for our top spend-up options now. Which, speaking of the Charlotte-Milwaukee game, Giannis Antetokounmpo, LaMelo Ball, like I said, 2 of my favorite plays on the slate. Certainly going to want to be getting them in. Top play in this game from an upside at his price tag perspective is going to be Mr. PJ Washington. So make sure you're loading up on this game, getting the fast up-tempo guys in your lineup. Dwayne Dedmon is in. That just came through. So, yeah, Miami's going to have a bunch of value that we can be loading up on in our lineup. So probably going to be chalky, but for good reason. They should be popular because there's nowhere else for them to go now. These guys are really going to have to step up, play minutes, perform. So like them. Houston taking on the Oklahoma City Thunder. Josh Giddey continues to be out in this one. So he's obviously going to open up quite a bit of usage here on this Oklahoma City side. And there's a few guys that are certainly standing out to me. We have Trey Mann, Ty Jerome, who should both see a bump up in minutes. And they're really cheap, only 3.5 and 3.3. And both of them produce at a pretty high rate here. We just got confirmation that Robert Williams is going to have his minutes monitored. So maybe don't have interest in Robert Williams now. So there's another piece of information for you. Probably wouldn't be going to a Robert Williams tonight in such a huge slate. But yeah, Josh Giddey's going to be out, guys. So Trey Mann and Ty Jerome, both going to be interesting options. Both guys producing at pretty high rates when they've gotten the opportunity so far in the season. And both really cheap. Trey Mann last time putting up 32.75 DraftKings points. He was only 3K. Now he's 3.5. Still going to be a great option, putting up 0.84 DK points per minute over a 12-game sample size. Ty Jerome putting up 0.92 DK points per minute over a 17-game sample size. So both Ty Jerome and Terrence Mann going to be some interesting salary relief options in this game. So they're 2 guys I'd be looking to. Obviously, Mann got way more minutes last time out, so he'd be the one that I lean towards. I do think that Jerome should get more minutes, but Mann got the start. So he's the obvious candidate to go ahead and step up. He's only 3.5. Going to be a great salary relief option on this slate. Certainly do have interest in him. And other than that, this game's kind of fairly obvious as far as where we're going. We're looking to the main usage guys in Christian Wood, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Kevin Porter Jr. at the top 3 here. All the offense really runs through these guys. So Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, with there being no Josh Giddey, should get even a bigger bump up in usage. Kevin Porter Jr. going to continue to really soak up some usage. He's been kind of a triple-double machine the last 2 times out. Didn't quite get the triple-double the time before, but he still put up 8 rebounds, 12 assists, 23 points, really performing at a high rate. So definitely have some interest in him. And like I said, the rest is going to be kind of obvious. And Eric Gordon, Jayshawn Tate, maybe interesting options, but not nearly as interested. Darius Bazley is questionable. If he's out, we could look into some Pakusevsky, Isaiah Roby, which is some pretty big news there because Isaiah Roby's only 3-4. Guy who traditionally, when he gets minutes, can perform at a very high rate. He got 27 minutes last time. He put up 26 DraftKings points, only 3K, so could be quite a bit of value to be had in this Oklahoma City-Houston game for sure. And then the Dallas-New Orleans Pelicans game, we were waiting on some Kristaps Porzingis news. We did get confirmation that he is more so probable, so I'd expect him to be in. We are waiting on Josh Hart news in the Pelican side of things. Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Garrett Temple, Thomas Satoransky could get increased minutes if he is out. Jaylen Brown is going to be limited to around 32 minutes is the latest report that I just came through for me as well. So once again, something to take note of. I really don't have interest in that game now that he's in. It's going to be a slow-paced game. Even though he's limited to 32 minutes, he's still going to impact the rotation enough to where these other guys aren't going to get the usage that I'd like them to be getting if I'm playing options from that game. So that's going to be a no for me. If Josh Hart's out, guys, Nickeil Alexander-Walker is going to become a better option. Devontae Graham's going to become a better option. Brandon Ingram's going to become a better option. There's just going to be more usage to go around in the offense naturally. Jonas Valanciunas continues to be an absolute beast, putting up 70.75 DraftKings points last time out. I was really excited when this guy finally started to get minutes because he's always been a really good fantasy point producer. He's just been so limited in the minutes. The Pelicans finally playing him a bunch of minutes. And he played only 19, 24, and 29 for a few games there, but it was really just more so because of the blowouts. We've seen him play mid-30s to upper 30s pretty consistently on this team, so I think that JV could be a great option if the game stays close. I certainly have interest in him at his 9.2 price tag on DraftKings. On FanDuel, I have interest in him as well. And looking at the overall Vegas totals in this game, it's a 4-point spread in favor of Dallas, expected to stay close. So, yeah, definitely have interest in him. Moses Brown expected to get the start on the other side of things here. Moses Brown is only 3K on DraftKings. We only saw him play 11 minutes last time out, though, so kind of tough to be getting. I mean, this guy absolutely crushed on Oklahoma City Thunder when he finally got some minutes on his last team. So he's a guy that I would definitely be having interest in if he had more minutes, but he just really hasn't been getting the minutes, so it's kind of tough for me to be advising you to play there. All right, guys, keep an eye on the chat. If you have any questions, please ask them. I think we're doing a pretty good job of going along the slate, but yeah, this last game, definitely going to have interest in. There's no Harrison Barnes. There's no Nicholas Batum. There is no Paul George now, so that's going to be a big deal on the Los Angeles Clippers side of things, obviously. Reggie Jackson, Eric Bledsoe, Marcus Morris, all three of them going to become big-time value plays on this slate. In a good game environment, taking on a Sacramento Kings squad that we're not too worried about defensively whatsoever. 214.5 over-under. It's a 5.5-point spread. Marcus Morris, Zubac, Reggie Jackson, Eric Bledsoe, Terrence Mann, Luke Kennard, Serge Ibaka. All of these guys really going to have to take a step forward. All of these guys are going to be valid tournament darts for you in your tournament lineups. And Reggie Jackson specifically just probably going to be one of the easiest plays on this team. He's been getting consistent minutes as is. You take Paul George out of the equation, he's going to get more usage. Been playing mid-30s to upper 30s in minutes. I think Reggie Jackson could have a very big game tonight, so he's going to be someone that I'm certainly having some interest in. And yeah, Marcus Morris, like we talked about. Really everyone on this team. Terrence Mann. Between the LA Clippers and the Miami Heat, there's going to be a lot of value to be going around on this slate today. So, I would certainly be capitalizing on those guys, putting them in your lineups, and yeah, you know, that's a pretty good walkthrough of the slate. I think we did a pretty good job, about a half an hour on the dot of walking through some of the top plays. So if you guys have any questions, please do ask them in the chat. If you're enjoying the stream, if you feel like I'm providing you with any value, if you could take a second to leave a like, that'd be greatly appreciated. We're trying to get to 20 likes right now. We only have 7 likes, guys, so if you could help me out with that, that would be great. And like I said, I'll gladly answer any questions you have. Doesn't look like we have any questions coming through right now, so if that's the case, I could bounce out early. I got to update my projections, update my core plays. If you are interested in my premium content, you can go ahead and check it out. I'm going to drop it in the chat for you guys, but I'll pull it up on the screen as well, so you kind of have an idea of what it has to offer. But yeah, but premium content is really picking up some good feedback, so I think a lot of people are really happy with it. If you would like to check it out, I just put the link in the chat. You can go ahead and do so. And like I said, I'm going to try to kind of pull it up here just to give you guys an idea of what it has to offer. On the side monitor here, pull it over to the main monitor so you guys can see. So yeah, my KJK DFS NBA package does include my premium NBA projections, my NBA data sheet, my player stats, my team stats, my play context stats, my core plays, my injury impact insights, and my NBA Discord chat access. If you are interested, check that out. Linked in the chat. It looks like we got a question. John asks, best value at big man on DraftKings. Best value at big man on DraftKings is going to be Dwayne Dedmon, hands down. So that would be your answer there. There is no more Bam Adebayo. He's going to step in. Should play mid-20s to maybe even 30s in minutes. So Dwayne Dedmon going to be the top value guy at the big man position. And it's really not even close. He's only 3-1 as a starter. So, yeah, John, I would definitely be advising you to play some Dwayne Dedmon if you need some value at the big man position on DraftKings. Any other questions, please let me know in the chat. Going to be kind of just hanging out here for a second. If there's no more questions, I'll bounce out. But I would love to answer any more questions you have, so let me know. Feeling pretty good about the slate overall. I'm going to do some adjustments, obviously, with the big news coming out that there is no Jimmy Butler on this slate tonight. That's going to impact my projections quite a bit here, so I'm about to run that update. Maybe we can talk over some of the changes that I'm seeing. But for the most part, I think it's pretty obvious where we're going to be looking to. Kyle Lowry, Tyler Hero, obviously going to get some big, big bumps. So they're going to be two of the top plays on the slate that you're certainly going to want to be getting some exposure to in your lineups. And as far as all these other guys, I mean, it's going to be ridiculous. You take two of the biggest parts of this team out of the equation. Obviously, that's going to make some big impacts. Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo. So, Lowry, Hero. Obviously, there's been Nola Depot. We're going to get to see Duncan Robinson minutes, Gabe Vincent. We're going to see Max Struss, Caleb Martin, PJ Tucker, Dwayne Dedmon. Like, all these guys are going to be viable value plays for you. And you're going to have to want to take note of that. So, I'm going to go ahead and do a little bit of a projections update here. If you have any questions, feel free to please drop them in the chat, and I'll kind of just let you guys know where my head's at with these latest updates. I kind of already explained myself, but I get a visual here on my projections and kind of relay the message to you guys as far as what I'm looking to. But I think we're feeling pretty good about the value on this slate. We should be able to pay up. Like I said, I really like getting some exposure to that Milwaukee Bucks and Charlotte Hornets game, because it's going to be a 230 over-under, fastest-paced game on the slate. I really think that paying up for Giannis Antetokounmpo and LaMelo Ball would be smart for you to be doing in your lineups, because they could have some seriously big games here. So that'd be some of my top advice to you on this slate tonight. Kind of obvious, but, I mean, you got to take advantage while you can. And then, obviously, the underpriced guys as well. I really like P.J. Washington in that game. I really like Kelly Oubre as well, because they're both pretty underpriced for their respective roles. They've been playing a lot of minutes, and that game's going to be at a really high pace. So I got one more thing to do here for my projections, and then we're going to have an update here. Let's see. And I'll relay the message to you guys as far as who's really standing out. Like I said, we already kind of have an idea of who's really going to be standing out. Tyler Hero, Kyle Lowry, obviously going to be great candidates. But John Goss asks, how many Heat players would you target on DraftKings? Yeah, man, that's what I'm saying. I'm going to pull this up right now. Could be a lot. In general, you don't want to get too crazy with one team. But the fact of the matter is, all these guys are so underpriced now. It's going to be kind of ridiculous. I mean, Tyler Hero, Kyle Lowry going to be underpriced. All these guys down low here, Gabe Vincent, Max Struss, Caleb Martin, PJ Tucker, all in like the 3 to 4K range. Now could possibly be playing like 30 minutes apiece. Tap My Life says, you know my motto, late but here, LOL. Yeah, no problem, man. I don't know. You're probably getting off work or something, so I understand. If you're late, no worries. We're just talking about this Miami Heat value opening up because Jimmy Butler is out, and so is Bam Adebayo. So we were just talking about how many players we could play from the Heat, and my guess is we're going to be able to play quite a bit here. I just want to get a visual on my projections on the side so that I can talk to you about kind of what I'm looking to. Yeah, Dwayne Dedmon going to be grading out as a very good play for me, obviously. He's going to be one of the top value plays on the slate. So I was asked by John, the top big man value. It's going to be Dwayne Dedmon, not even close. Top play on the slate based upon his salary and his upside. So I'm going to like him quite a bit. As far as anyone else on the Miami side of things, Kyle Lowry, obviously, Tyler Hero. Maybe I'm not too interested in getting too cute with those other value guys, though, to be honest. Like I said, it'll be interesting. I'm updating my projections all the way up until lock. So oftentimes some things can change, but for the time being, I mean, Kyle Lowry, Tyler Hero going to be obvious candidates to get a big bump forward in their projections and in their upside. So then Dwayne Dedmon, great value on the Miami side of things for sure as well. And certainly would be looking to him. Looking at FanDuel real quick here as well. Yeah, Kyle Lowry on FanDuel is even cheaper. Kyle Lowry is only 6'8" on FanDuel. So if you're playing over on FanDuel, Kyle Lowry becomes, obviously one of the best value plays on the slate. There is no Jimmy Butler. He's going to get a big bump up in usage, and he's arguably underpriced as is if Jimmy Butler was in the game. Now we have no Jimmy Butler, so he's going to be a good play. And then obviously Dwayne Dedmon. He's only 3.7 on FanDuel. But yeah, guys. Lots of value opening up there. All right, time of my life. Let me get to these questions. Already like the stream. FanDuel value. Thank you for that like, by the way. I appreciate it. FanDuel value and best spend up. Well, the FanDuel value would be Dwayne Dedmon. I mean, Dwayne Dedmon's the top value play on the slate on both websites, so I'm certainly going to like him quite a bit at 3.7. My top spend up on FanDuel is going to be Giannis Antetokounmpo. Giannis Antetokounmpo is going to be top spend up option across the board. The only thing that could possibly really make him, I mean, obviously if he gets in foul trouble, that's going to possibly, or if he gets hurt, that's going to limit his upside. But with those things aside, the only thing that's going to slow this guy down from having a huge game tonight is going to be a blowout. It's a 9-point spread, but it's a 230.5 over under. Even if it is a blowout, I think there's a solid chance he could get you there. Maybe not the full ceiling game that you want out of him, but enough to not kill your lineups at least. It's such a high total game. I think you really got to be prioritizing it. So, yeah, Giannis Antetokounmpo going to be my top spend up option. Time of Life says, you do the breakdown for FanDuel already. Yeah, I'm kind of talking about it with you, but I mean, on FanDuel, I really like this Milwaukee-Charlotte game. Bobby Portis on FanDuel at 6.5 I think is a tremendous play as well. We talked about Giannis, but I think Bobby Portis at 6.5 is just way too cheap over here. I also really like playing PJ Washington. We talked about him getting like mid-30s minutes. He's way underpriced. Bobby Portis is 6.5. If you look at PJ Washington's price tag, he's only 4.9, so he's even cheaper, and he's a great fantasy point producer. He's been getting a lot of minutes. Looking at what he's putting up so far in the season, putting up 0.97 FanDuel points per minute over an 11-game sample size at this point. So, I mean, the guy's putting up about 1 FanDuel point per minute, and he's expected to see in the 30s in minutes. So, it's kind of an obvious play in the fastest-paced game on the slate. Love the spot. I put him on the thumbnail for a reason. So, PJ Washington, certainly a great play. Other guys on FanDuel I like. Rashawn Holmes at the center position at 6.7. You could play him at the power forward position as well for the Sacramento Kings. I think that he's a pretty great play. There's no Harrison Barnes. I think that could lead to him getting some more usage, and he's just going to get the rebounds as is. So there's no Marvin Bagley as well. And Maurice Harkless is listed as questionable. So that's only going to help his case even more than what it was. So I certainly like him quite a bit. And, yeah, I mean, those are some of my top plays on FanDuel for you. Kevin Huerter, with there being no Time of Life says, Paul George out tonight. Yeah, we talked about that early in the stream, man. I know you're late. So Paul George was ruled out earlier in the day. He's been out for quite some time. But with that being said, that's certainly big news, obviously. So the Clippers side of things, we're going to be looking to play Reggie Jackson a bunch. Vika Zubac should get a bump up, but Reggie Jackson, Eric Bledsoe, Terrence Mann, Luke Kennard, all these guys, Marcus Morris Sr. are going to be great value plays. Reggie Jackson being my favorite of the bunch. He's already getting a bunch of minutes as it is a starter. Now you take Paul George out of the equation. He should continue to see those minutes. And then, obviously his usage and his production should go up. John asks, "We're 0 on DraftKings." Yeah, man, I give you the go to play anyone in this game, honestly. I mean, it's a possibility that not everyone gets there, but this game's going to be so quickly paced. He's 7-2. Yeah, I have no issues with playing Terry Rozier on DraftKings whatsoever. Especially if you're not playing LaMelo Ball, the smart thing to do would be to play, load up on these other Charlotte guys. If you're not playing LaMelo, play like, Miles Bridges, Terry Rozier, Gordon Hayward, Kelly Oubre, PJ Washington. If you're playing LaMelo Ball, you're getting a little bit negatively correlated, but for the most part, still give you the go. John asked, Terrence Davis, Caleb Martin, or Davion Mitchell? That's a good question, man. Those are all going to be good value plays, so. Right now, I'd have to go with Davion Mitchell. But just keep in mind my projections aren't final, so I'm wondering if that's going to change as I continue updating here. Alright guys, looks like the questions are slowing down here, so if you have any more questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. Other than that, I'll probably hang out for another 3 minutes or so till 6:15, then I'll get out of here, update my projections, score plays, all that fun stuff over on Patreon. If you're interested in joining, you can check that out, link below in the description. I dropped it in the chat as well. But yeah, obviously there's going to be a bunch of value on the Clipper side of things, the Miami side of things, with these guys being out. So some big news there. Time My Life asks, Carter or Portis? I would go with Portis. I really like Bobby Portis a lot in this game environment, so Bobby Portis is the way to go there. But yeah, guys, I'm going to go ahead and get on out of here. Looks like the questions are kind of dying down. I'm going to update my projections, core plays, all that fun stuff. If you have any more questions that you really want answered, please ask them now so that I answer them before I leave. But I think we're feeling pretty good. If you enjoyed the stream, if you could take a second to leave a like, that'd be greatly appreciated. Subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you don't miss any future content that I upload. Get out the morning video as much as possible with my lock of the night, all that fun stuff. And then I'll do these live streams as well. So trying to get out as much content as possible. Things have gotten a little crazy with the holiday season, but I'm looking to get back to the normal grind, trying to do that as much as possible. Typically, you're speaking about 2 videos a day on the channel. So that's kind of the goal. But yeah, guys, looks like we don't have any more questions. That's all from me. If you enjoyed, if you could please take a moment to leave a like, that would be greatly appreciated. I'll be back tomorrow. Wish you guys all the best of luck on this slate tonight. And we'll see you in the next one.